This is Jim Collison. We're back at Infotec 2014. I'm here with Ken Carnes from OPPD. If you're wondering, the Omaha Public Power District, for those who maybe not from the Omaha area, it's how we get all our power here in Omaha. Ken, thanks for coming out and spending a few minutes with us.
Absolutely.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. I mentioned where you work, but tell us what you do and those kinds of things.
Basically, I manage our corporate cybersecurity programs, and I moved into that. I've been through the roles in IT through the years. Coder and then business analyst and did storage, architecture, and did the loop. And cybersecurity has kind of been the nexus of that, because it's tying a lot of that together, and now it's really tying it into the business and how we support the business instead of being the no guys all the time.
Yeah, right. Yeah, always have to be the ones, no, you can't have that, no, you can't log in there. OPPD, it's a power company, right? Electricity and such. Cybersecurity, how does that tie into utility?
It's very critical in our stuff because we're seen by Homeland Security as a critical infrastructure. So when you look at that, we have tie-ins with a lot of government-side regulations from our NERC, which is the North American Electric Reliability Corporation, which oversees the grid side and the grid security, and then we have the nuclear side, which is the NRC, the Nuclear Regulatory Commission. So those two have very distinct programs that we have to operate within, and then we also have things like regular business with PCI, like payment card industry, because we have call centers, we have customers, and we process those too. So we've got all those things, and then we just got general business cybersecurity like everybody else. Users trying to use their BYOD, use their device, get their job done, and supporting that in a secure method to make sure none of that's a pathway or anything else that we do as a business. Yeah,
when we talk about the grid, oftentimes there's been a lot of concern about the openness of the grid, the power grid. From your work out there, what are the utilities doing to kind of secure the grid down, so to speak, from a cybersecurity? Is it as vulnerable as everybody says it is?
No, it's not. It is very much segmented. Different groups and different operations manage that. For me, the nice thing is that we have sub areas that manage the compliance areas at those facilities and those sites and those operations, and I get to focus more on just pure security on the corporate side and being a first line of defense to those guys if they have a need. But really, just focusing our whole program into enabling the business to do things securely, and education of staff and customer base and everybody else. We're just doing what we can to really leverage a new way of looking at things, and that's a lot of what I talked about in my presentation.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that. Kind of give us the major points of what you talked about.
So the major thing was really around the focus on risk management and incident response. Is it time for a counter-blitz? And a lot of it focused on this military strategy of this guy, John Boyd, was a fighter pilot in the Korean War. Came up with a very simple idea: observe, orient, decide, act. And he said, hey, if you can get through the loop faster than your enemy, you win. And we really got to get there with cybersecurity. We got to get into a very quick, very reaction, more of a proactive base, so that we can be on top of incident response, be integrating into what the business needs, so that we're providing that support and the direction of how to do things securely, but enable the user base and the customer to get what they need. And so really focused on that. We went through the new NIST framework that was generated from the Cybersecurity Executive Order that came out.
That's new NIST?
Yeah.
NIST?
Yeah, NIST, the National Standards Group. So basically, President Obama signed the executive order last year in 2013 in February. They released a standard about a year later. It's a framework for critical infrastructure cybersecurity. And so I've talked a lot about how to leverage that framework to be the communication tool in your business to help people understand, hey, it's a very simple framework. It's got 5 things, right?
Okay.
Identify, protect, detect, recover, and respond.
Okay.
And and that's all there is to it. And it's very simple to understand. It ties in capability, maturity models. It ties in how to manage or risk manage the whole cyber program. And what I was really trying to tell people is, hey, this isn't for just critical infrastructure. Anybody can use this.
Sure.
And it's really useful. And then just looking at all of our incident response speed and how we do things, and just taking a different look at risk. So one major point in there too was just to, hey, get you to look at it differently. I started out with a question of, what's the riskiest thing you've ever done? Think about that for a minute, and then go, hey, what's the riskiest thing you've done at work? And then look at the people next to you and say, what do you think their answer is?
Yeah.
Because it's different for everybody.
Right.
And it's the same with business. Right. Risks vary, and they change constantly. So you got to be monitoring continuously and actively, and be communicating that up and down to the practitioner and back up.
Yeah. Now OPPD, they have 2 nuclear power plants?
No, we have one. The other unit in Nebraska is owned by Nebraska Public Power.
Oh, okay.
And I did work.
And that's the one
there.
down in Nebraska City.
Yep, yeah.
That's down there.
One by Brownville.
Yeah. And is that? Are they bringing that up, or is it?
No, they're both operational.
They are both. No, it's the one up north here that they've been bringing up online.
Absolutely.
And how much interaction do you have with that plant then, or how much work do you have to do on the regulatory side with that plant?
I just provide some technical staff to support the site. I don't have a lot of day-to-day up there. I was located out there for many years myself when I worked in that facility. But
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Very interesting. Of course, one of the nice things about what we do here at Infotec is we focus a lot on Nebraska and Omaha companies. So it's kind of nice to talk to local folks. I do these interviews all over the world, but it's nice to kind of get local from that. From a security and risk standpoint, when we think about the footprint that we have here in Omaha, is it different here than other parts of the country? Better, worse, or is it just the same no matter what?
Yeah, it's really the same. We do our best to just focus on our delivery and customers, and that's our focus. That's our business, right?
Yeah.
It's not IT. So I'm just trying to enable the business to do business and do it the way they need to. That's our focus. You look at technology and it's just an enablement tool. It's not the answer.
It's a tool, right? In that sense. If you could, I like to ask folks from time to time if you had a magic wand and you could change anything about what's either in the job or what's going on in the industry or things like that. What would make your life easier? I mean, as you're certainly out there in some very tough spots for stuff to do. What would you change?
I think the easiest thing to change, or the most impactful thing to change, would be the perspective of the end user on security. Getting everybody to start thinking about it and being concerned in a good way, and trying to be proactive and not work around the processes that are put in place for their protection.
Right.
I mean, that's kind of the end point, is educating the individual, because we can do a lot of things, but the endpoint user is our most common.
Yeah, we talked about this a little bit yesterday, that the end user is really the weakest link now in a lot of ways, and maybe it's always been that way. Do you have any ideas on just, we say this, we give a lot of service to it, end user, we have better training. Do you have any suggestions, maybe one or two, or things that you've seen work that really helps get the end user, that maybe it gets their security level up?
Yeah, one thing we did is we've gone around in the business to different areas of the business, and then basically done like a security roadshow, 5-10 minute in their regular scheduled meeting, and just say, hey, think about this, and then we tie it to them. We say, hey, what about your kids? What are they doing? Have you thought about this at your home? And then all of a sudden they're like, what do I need to do? What should I be listening for?
So bring a roadshow idea, right? Is take it to them. Two, maybe make it
personal.
Make it personal to them. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's the biggest way to really get that message across, and then they'll start to listen, and then they'll start to realize, oh, maybe I should think about this in other ways, in other places.
Yeah.
And we've seen that to be pretty effective. And then just being current. I mean, if something happens, recent Heartbleed, maybe you want to get something out there very quickly to help educate them and help them have better understanding and clarity of what they're hearing, so that it's not as scary and obscure. Yeah.
Did you guys send some communication downstream to users around Heartbleed?
Absolutely. I mean, why wouldn't we want to educate them as to, hey, what it is, what cost should you take in your personal life? I mean, that's one thing we're always trying to do, is help, our employees as much as our customers.
Yeah. Yeah, well, very seriously. Last weekend I went through and I had to change all my passwords. It took me about 4 or 5 hours to work through all those. I use LastPass to kind of help me manage that. But it's a pretty serious breach from that standpoint. Although I don't know how much the effects.
It's just the unknowns of it, right? I mean, by what it was, it could be really scary for certain organizations.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we here in Omaha, we love OPPD. I'm a customer of OPPD. Great, inexpensive. I still think we have one of the best run public utilities, maybe in the nation, and our prices seem to be lower than everybody else. And I think that speaks a lot to what's going on in the Midwest and the kind of stuff that you guys are doing at OPPD. For thanks. If folks want to know more about OPPD, that's just oppd.com. I would imagine they can go out there.
Go to that site. There's a ton of extra help content out there on that, with personal things to do with energy management, all kinds of other help. There's clinics. There's all kinds of great content out there that can help people with their personal stuff with that. So.
Yeah, very good. Ken, thanks for taking the time to be with us.
Absolutely.
And